For me, kayak fishing is simple. A boat, a paddle, a fishing rod, and unspoiled water. The fish are big. The chaos is beautiful. It's angling's addictive final frontier, and I'm hooked. I'm Gregory, and this is Hooked on Wild Waters.
Gregory's Hooked on Wild Waters has been brought to you by River Bassin Tournament Trail. No egos, just fun. Jackson Kayak. We make fun. GoPro. Be a hero. Bending Branches. Pretty, smart paddles. Orion Coolers. Never lose your cool. 13 Fishing. Make your own luck. Z-Man Lures. The science and art of fishing.
We love bringing you guys new episodes of Hooked on Wild Waters and keeping them free. One thing you can do for us to support us and help make sure it stays free is to follow us on any social media platforms and subscribe on YouTube. You can also subscribe to the brand new Hooked on Wild Waters podcast, just more great content for you. Also, check out the online store. We've got tons of great products to buy on the store, rods, reels, hats, shorts, and the new Hooked on Wild Waters Signature Edition trailer by Tennessee Trailers. So thanks again for being hooked on Wild Waters. Wild isn't always about the wear. Sometimes it's just as much about the weather. It's easy to hit snooze on those days that aren't perfect, warm, and sunny. But I've seen the most depressing forecasts turn into my biggest bass blessings over the years. Today, the wind, rain, strong storms, and cold front are threatening havoc on one of the most beautiful and diverse watersheds I've ever seen. It's the mighty Congaree River system. Let's face it, we all want the perfect weather day when we go fishing, but honestly, it just doesn't always happen. So you have to go whenever you can go. And today we've got a super cold front that came pushing through in mid-early April. It's cloudy, it's been raining all day. It feels like one of these miserable days, but it's the time I have to go fishing. It's gonna create a challenge. It's gonna make me a better angler. If you guys get out there in some bad weather, trust me, you're gonna become a better angler for it. So I'm gonna get out here today, try to catch some fish on the Congaree River system. Let's see what happens. So when you go out on weird weather days, usually it's a big hit or a miss. And the first few minutes can tell you if they're gonna be on or off. Unfortunately for me, within the first few casts, I got bit. I threw my Z-Man Chatterbait with the Chartreuse Swimmer's trailer right against this wood, and this fish nailed it. That's a great bait to throw in the spring because fish are so aggressive and they can sense that with their lateral line, the vibration on the Chatterbait, and wham, she just came out and nailed it. There we go. Fish on, smallmouth on. There we go, first fish of the day. It feels like a nice one too. Usually they like to jump, but this time of year, she's just wanting to bulldog right now. You really gotta wear these fish out. That's a nice one too. They get so big. This is about a 3-pounder, looks like. Just gotta wear her out, slowly wear her down. There we go, wow. Look at that. On the Chatterbait, that's a good sign. Just an awesome fish, got her on the Chatterbait, 1/2 ounce, a Chartreuse Swimmers as a trailer. I'm gonna keep throwing that. Let's let her go and catch some more. There's bigger ones in here, I know they're here. All right, there she goes. All right. So smallmouth love to spawn in shoals, just like shoal bass. So a lot of times these flats right before a set of shoals are kind of where they feed during the pre-spawn, and some of them are probably in these shoals, so we're gonna find out real soon. So I'm throwing in there, and I had this bite. I could tell it was a good sized fish, and it just came off, I missed it. So I throw back in again, because oftentimes there's multiple fish there, or the same fish is so aggressive this time of year, they'll bite again. And sure enough, fish on. Can't tell if it's a largemouth or a smallmouth. She's jumping, it's a smallmouth. Not as big as the first one, but I will take it. I just talked about these flats, you know, how they're gonna be out here feeding. It's just a short distance away from when the time is right. Boom. Right down the street, they pull into their little area to spawn, they find their lady. That's a little male there. I'm gonna keep working this flat. There's gotta be more out here. So far, so good. I've got smallmouth biting on nearly every cast. I've definitely found where they're at. And one thing you wanna do if you do find where they're at, stay in the area. You know, don't leave. That means they're definitely not in a lot of other places on the river. So I'm gonna stay here, just keep working my way around until I've just milked this area for all it's worth. I make more casts, and sure enough, every time I get behind a calm area, you know, large rock or any sort of pool, fish on one after another. And finally, I get into a big one. This is a good fish right here. I don't even want to put pressure on her. Wow, oh my goodness. Wow, I'm into my backing. It's a nice one. Probably not as good as I thought, but it's still, might be the same one that broke me off, who knows? God, they all feel like they're 7 pounds. It's a nice one though. Wow. She's just fighting so hard up this current. She's about a little bit bigger than the first one. She stays on. Stay on. Stay on. Come here. Oh, wow. Wow, nice fish. Ha ha! Look at this thing. So this smallmouth here is even bigger, and I'm gonna put her on the measuring board. Let's just see how big she is here. She's just about, feels like she's nearly 4 pounds. She's gonna go, looks like 19 inches, almost 19 inches. So that's a big girl right there. So one thing I've gotta highlight is you can see its mouth right here. Notice how it's different than the other side. And you can tell right here, this fish has been caught before. Either caught or maybe he got himself injured when he tried to eat something really big. But either way, I think most likely it was caught before, which just goes to show you how important catch and release is and conserving and protecting this valuable resource. I cannot urge you enough. If you love to eat bass, that's great. But there are limits, and there are certain ones to keep and certain ones to release. So definitely let's release the trophies. I prefer catch and release only. And I'm gonna catch as I have and release this one right now. The Congaree rivershed is so beautiful, but if you actually look close, you still see man's ill effects on the rivers. I mean, over here we've got all this trash just stacked up, and that's just a reminder, if you're on the streets and wherever you're at, whatever city, doesn't matter, if you drop anything on the ground, believe me, it will end up in the river. People didn't throw this trash in the river, they threw it on the land, and it went into the river during a huge rain, a big flood. So keep that in mind, we gotta protect the fisheries. Join your local river keeper, they do river sweeps, they clean this stuff up, get involved. So I decided to go talk with Bill Stangler, the Congaree Riverkeeper, so you and I can learn more about this amazing fishery. Today I'm with Bill Stangler of the Congaree Riverkeeper, and I'm so excited to share with you guys more about this very unique and diverse river system. So of course I have to come to the guy that knows the most about it. Bill, how's it going today?
It's great.
Awesome, man. So listen, you are the Congaree Riverkeeper, and now a lot of folks out there, they've heard of riverkeepers, and maybe hopefully they're involved in their local riverkeeper, but if they've never heard of it, tell us exactly, what exactly is a riverkeeper?
Yeah, outside of a really cool job title, and I've been called River Wizard and a bunch of other things, river keepers are local people who stand up and work to protect their local waterways. So Congaree Riverkeeper is a grassroots nonprofit fighting to protect the Broad, the Lower Saluda, and the Congaree rivers.
I've fished this river system many times, the Broad, the Saluda, the Congaree, the whole thing, and it's so unique and diverse. And I know obviously a lot about what makes it diverse, but explain from your end, why is it so unique?
Yeah, so having these three rivers here in town, the Broad and the Saluda come together to form the Congaree right in the middle of downtown Columbia. It's absolutely amazing. Each river has its own unique characteristics. I kind of think of them, I used to be a river guide, so I think of them kind of like stepping stones. You know, you've got the Congaree that kind of meanders past the national park, lots of sandbars. You've got the Broad, which has got these wonderful shoals and riffles. And then you've got the Saluda, which has got a bunch of whitewater rapids, some class 3 and 4 rapids. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So speaking of the Saluda, let's talk about each one of them, you know, separately. The Saluda is unique because it does have this trout population, and it's super cold coming out of the bottom of Lake Murray at the dam there. Tell us about that unique fishery.
Yeah, so the Saluda River, it runs about 55 degrees year round. So when it's hot as all heck in the Columbia summer, it's the best place to be. But that 55-degree water supports a artificial trout population.
Yeah, I've tackled with a few of those trout. It's some great fly fishing, great trout fishing. And what's cool, I think that, you know, the striped bass, when they make their way up the Congaree, which we'll move on to next, they come up there and they tend to lean towards going up that Saluda with that cold water, plus of course the trout.
That free lunch.
Yeah, free lunch. Yeah, can't beat that. The Congaree, let's talk about that for a second. You know, the two rivers merge, the Saluda and the Broad, form the Congaree, and it's just massive river. It's so much life, and then it heads down into this national park. Explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you know the Congaree winds its way down past Columbia, and you can look at a map and you can see it starts to take these big, wide S-curves, those meanders, and it's working its way through the floodplain. And a big part of that floodplain is Congaree National Park. It's South Carolina's only national park. It has some of the tallest trees on the East Coast. And it is because of that flooding that created this neat thing. So going down on the Congaree, when you get down to that national park area, it's like going back in time. I mean, this is what the Southeast used to look like. Huge forests running past these rivers. And so, you know, your canoe can act as a time machine when you go down there.
Wow, that's amazing. And the cool thing, so all those fish that the migratory fish coming up from the ocean, they can go all the way up, obviously, to the Lake Murray Dam on the Saluda side. But on the Broad side, we'll talk about the Broad now. What's unique is there's a diversion canal dam, but you guys have this awesome fish ladder that's there so that fish can continue their way up the Broad. So let's talk about the Broad and that fish ladder.
Yeah, so the Broad is this great river, and again, those fish that make their way from the ocean, or some of those landlocked fish that were stuck in the Santee Cooper lakes, they have to get past so many obstacles, and that dam on the Broad is one of them. But with a lot of work on dam relicensing and other things, there's a fish ladder now. So it was designed to let fish go past that and open up another 30+ miles of habitat that they used to have access to, so we could have those fish populations continue to thrive, so that people can keep catching them, but also so that whole ecosystem is functioning like it used to.
Yeah, it's an amazing ecosystem. And the cool thing about the smallmouth being in the Broad and the Congaree and the Saluda, they're in all three rivers. But what's unique is they actually got put there, if I'm correct, right, in Kings Creek, coming out of Kings Mountain, a long time ago, actually by a state agency. Of course, we don't move fish anymore that weren't native, but that was before that, you know, that trend started to be a positive one. We stopped moving fish that were native by state agencies, at least. Some people out there still do it, and they should not. But now that they're in there, in this whole river system, that's actually been kind of unique as well, because they've spread throughout the whole river system.
Yeah,
people are catching them all the way down.
They're thriving out there. They do really well, and it's an amazing recreational fish. It's really neat.
So Bill, tell us a little bit about the biggest threats, the whole watershed right now.
Yeah, so we work on a number of different issues around here. Everything from water quality issues, that's trying to hold rogue sewer companies responsible for their pollution. We were actually successful in shutting down a company that had been violating the Clean Water Act recently, to things like stormwater runoff, all that stuff that runs in from streets and parking lots, bacteria and trash. Of course, water quantity issues are another huge piece that don't get brought up a lot, but you know, if you clean up all the water and you still don't have anything going in because of the way a dam operates or someone's pulling it all out, you can't put your boat in, you can't go fishing. So water quantity is a huge piece too.
Well, it definitely sounds like you guys do a lot, and it's probably a very thankless job, but we appreciate it here. So thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you for coming down and hanging out on our rivers.
Absolutely. Now, everybody out there, definitely get in touch with your local river keeper. And if you're local to this area, go check out the Congaree River Keeper and support the local river keepers, because nobody is hooked on dirty waters, okay? We're hooked on wild waters, and they help make it wild. So we've caught some fish. We've caught some really nice ones. And once I catch some nice fish, I just pretty much go big or go home. That's why I've tied on Chris Lane's bait. He gave me down in Florida the big mistake. So we're gonna see if this sucker can catch me a big, big fish. Most people, when they feel the temperature, air temperature this cold, you know, in the 50s, they're like, no way they're gonna hit topwater. But remember, we've had longer days, the water's warmer, and these fish are super aggressive, you know, feeding up for the spawn. So I took a topwater lure, the Whopper Plopper, I'm bringing it upstream, and sure enough, wham, this huge smallmouth just destroys it. And I'm trying to kind of horse her over a rock and bring her in upstream. Huge mistake. She just came off just like that. Look at that. She left me with a salad. I should have pulled up my power pole, pulled out my anchor wizard, whatever I had down at that point, and let myself drift downstream along with that big fish. We might have floated a quarter mile, but it would have been worth it to land the big fish as opposed to it getting off by trying to force it back upstream. Due to the fact that I got on the river so late, I have very limited time, and now I've got to paddle down to the next set of shoals, and it's hard to do. Trust me, every inch of this river looks amazing, like a fish is going to be there, it's going to be there. It looks incredible. It was so hard to do, but I paddled my way down. I got to the next set of shoals, and sure enough, I've got just a couple hours left. I can still catch some more fish. They started biting right off the bat, just like they did in the prior set of shoals. I don't know if it's a good one. I can't tell. It's a small one. All right. Definitely get some nice numbers. I'm excited to be on fish. However, I'm not really getting any big fish like I was upstream. You know, I'm bummed that I had to leave that spot, but obviously I have to make it out before dark. So I'm thinking to myself, just maybe these fish that are spawning here, some of them travel from many, many miles, 30, 40, 50 miles downstream to spawn. So hopefully some of the biggest ones are still working their way up and I can just catch one in transition on his way to this honey hole. And sure enough, as the sunlight's fading just right, I make this cast, the topwater lure, I'm just cranking it, and this fish just coming after it probably 6 or 7 times until it got hooked. 18+ inch smallmouth bass, I will take it. It's the fitting way to end the day. It's not a bad one. Whoa, man. Oh, it's a nice one. Come here, get in. Ooh, woo. Gotta watch those hooks, those trebles. Ah, I got her. Haha. Wow. That was a beautiful fish. In this sunset, in this environment, you know what I'm gonna say next. This is why I'm hooked on wild waters. You guys know the drill by now. There's a little daylight left. I think I'm gonna keep going. This is an amazing way to end the day. This 18¼ inch smallmouth hit right here, but you know what's funny? The bad weather and the clouds and the rain this morning, the bite was better. So sometimes we wait for this beautiful weather, but the fishing is actually better earlier. So as you can see with this sunlight, these islands around me, this beautiful entire Congaree River system that you've witnessed today, it's clearly another reason I'm hooked on wild waters.
Drew Gregory's Hooked on Wild Waters has been brought to you by River Bassin Tournament Trail. No egos, just fun. Jackson Kayak, we make fun. GoPro, be a hero. Bending Branches, pretty, smart paddles. Orion Coolers, never lose your cool. 13 Fishing, make your own luck. Z-Man Lures, the science and art of fishing.